if I just go back to 2002, clearly the rate of this epidemic across England changed direction, increased the rate of increase in 2002. So what happened then? Well, actually, we publish every month bacteremia data and C. diff data in the Communicable Disease Report, and in 2002, in retrospect, you can see that the age-specific attack rates of 75-year-olds actually took off, completely changed direction then. And we published that in the CDR that year. We had absolutely no response from anybody in the UK, but we had 4 calls and 2 emails from North America and Quebec. And they said, "Hi guys, you've got an outbreak over there. Your age-specific attack rates of 75-year-olds is exactly what our major outbreak situation is in Quebec. What are you doing about it?" Well, one of the things they did about it was introduce mandatory surveillance of strain types, and this showed you that we'd got into England type 106 and 027. And the key message in that was these were actually multi-drug resistant strains, drug resistant to ciprofloxacin and other quinolones, as well as third-generation cephalosporins. I just want to give now one case study that I've been quite closely involved with a colleague, James Nash. 3 hospitals, we'll leave them anonymous. And just to show you how these increases took place. Down there in the southeast, we had very reasonable, controllable numbers, around 20 a year, right back there. And then look at this explosion. Like any outbreak curve or any exponential rises, these simply double. You go from 20 to 30 to 60, from 60 to 120, from 120 to 250, from 250 to 400, from 400 to 500. And that's only a third the height of some trusts. So this is what happens in an outbreak. And when that happens right across the country, you get this explosion from 1,000 to 50,000. So it's all based on what's happening. Now, James Nash and his colleagues down in the southeast introduced this sort of risk management structure for C. diff. They restricted to 4 groups of broad-spectrum antibiotics. They introduced rapid patient diagnosis, treatment, isolation. There was active management of high bed occupancy. There was early identification and control of outbreaks. And there was a risk assessment related to performance. This is the picture, quite complicated, 3 colours, 3 hospitals, and you can see over there on the right, finally in 2006 this came under control, but in 2004 it was also brought down, only to lose control on the concurrence of a norovirus outbreak. And we might return to that in questions, but essentially there is an association there, both of increased ascertainment and possibly an interpathogenic link. Why has it worked in 2006? Well, finally, they got control. Actually succeeded in restricting cephalosporins and getting doctors to follow that, restricted coamoxiclav, restricted against vast and sequential opposition across 3 trusts, ciprofloxacin, and promoted the use of gentamicin. Why did it take 5 years? Because it took 5 years to get and audit those policies. So looking at all of this, we need to change the culture of antibiotic prescribing. We need to learn from good practice. And it's not too much to say. We do need to actually introduce and ban 3rd-generation cephalosporins, 2nd-generation cephalosporins, and quinolones. If we don't grasp that nettle, we aren't going to control C. diff. And it needs to go from the bottom of the list to the top of the list. So to look ahead, we need to measure, monitor, and benchmark the usage of these antibiotics. And to apply this in NHS in England is very difficult because we have no integrated hospital pharmacy system for recording our drugs. So what we need to do is to focus on IT. In the States, there are 2 off-the-shelf systems that can download in real time all the antibiotic data, which we don't have, all the lab resistance data, and all the patient discharge data. And that can give you, I could demonstrate by the internet, every patient in my ITU at Maryland University Hospital this morning, what drugs they were given at 8 o'clock this morning, what their antibiotic resistances were, and the 600 daily alerts that go out to clinicians in that hospital about the errors in their prescribing, all logged now as part of patient care and safety. I can also flag up for you the exact MRSA rate for the last 5 years, bacteremia rate, in University of Maryland Teaching Hospital in their ITU today, automatically in real time. And that's the system I want to pilot, that I've just been talking to Brian about, in 5 trusts in the current year.